This next game departs from the traditional attempts at recreating the original Scooby-Doo show. Taurus Games developed this game. You may just know them as the company that made the Duke Nukem game on the Game Boy Advance. Well, Taurus Games makes pretty good games, mostly licensed kids games. They've had a long life in the industry, and in addition to Duke Nukem on GBA, they also ported Doom 2 and made a really good Spider-Man game on the Game Boy Color. But their games are always solid games that play well and fit the license they use. And First Frights is no different. The game doesn't start out with another recreation of the old TV show. It gives us a more moody opening following a firefly through a spooky swamp. It sets the tone, which is very Halloween-y.
Which is perfect for us.
The game departs from the previous games with its more unique art style that reminds me very much of Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus. The opening cinema actually transitions from menu to cutscene to menu, and it does it pretty darn smoothly. There are 4 levels in the game, each with multiple stages. The first level takes place at St. Louis High School, where the gang goes to help Daphne's cousin Anna win her school talent show. Unfortunately, a phantom haunts the auditorium. The gang arrives at Anna's high school, and with no clear visible way to get inside the locked building, Scooby and Shaggy break onto the grounds and search for a way in. And as they do, they come across Daphne's cousin Anna.
What are you doing back there?
Certainly not playing with ourselves, if that's what you think.
You get more of the story from Anna at this point.
We haven't been able to finish a single dress rehearsal since the Phantom started haunting the theater.
Shaggy and Scooby search for an entrance into the school. It's here that you learn some of the rudiments of the game, like platforming and special abilities. This is a platformer and you will jump around a lot, but unlike previous games, you now can play as every member of Mystery Inc., and every member has a different attack and special ability. Shaggy has a slingshot attack and can use a grappling hook to get to different places. Scooby attacks with a rope of wieners and can pass through special doggy doors. Daphne has a bunch of kicks she does and can climb pipes. Fred punches and can move heavy objects. And Velma can throw books and access computer panels which act as a little mini game you can play. Platforming is only half the game though. This is really more of a beat 'em up. Basically, you go around brawling with spooks and specters. The gameplay is satisfying and competently done. There's nothing here that's overly spectacular. It's just above average. It's fun though. Throughout each level, you can also collect clues and unlock costumes for the gang to wear. There are a couple of costumes for each character. They give them new abilities and combat moves. Such costumes can include Shaggy's spacesuit, Freddy's football suit, Daphne's rock outfit, and by far the funniest is Velma's sumo suit. There are also several others in the game that you can get. The clues you get are designed to help you, the player, try to determine who the villain is of each level. Because at the end of each level, you are actually asked who you think is the person responsible for the crimes taking place. I don't know if getting the right answer or not does anything to affect the game, but it's there. There are multiple sections to each level. One special section is referred to as a chase level, in which you play Shaggy and Scooby running from whatever the monster is for that specific level. In the school, it's the Phantom. In the Toyland, it's the giant robot. At the waterfront, it's the giant crab monster. These chase levels break up the fisticuffs and jumping. Each level has you meet potential suspects as well. In the school, you meet Coach Hayes, who is voiced by Master Miller.
Fred Jones, the star quarterback.
Anna Blake is also a suspect here, and her drama teacher, who happens to never be around when the Phantom appears, is also a suspect. The levels tend to be designed more to be realistic, as in they more appear like something you might find in the real world. At least for the most part. There are some levels that are big and unrealistic for the sake of the platforming, I suppose. Each level is capped off with a boss fight against the ghoulie you're dealing with. In the school, you fight the Phantom on a stage. You have to take out some of his goons before you fight him, and while you're going at it, he's singing opera for you to enjoy. In the end, it was Coach Hayes who committed the crime. The second level is a carnival. The carnival is shut down due to evil toys running amok. It's a very red section of the game, I have to say. You traverse carnival games, sewers, a giant toy factory, and fight all kinds of evil toys. Here you meet some weird little dude named Numbers. You also meet a friendly security guard. And finally you meet this guy.
Tim Toiler, that's the name. Friendly town citizen. Completely sane!
The final boss of the level is a giant robot with a death ray. You have to beat the hell out of him until he's in his second form, and then you have to bounce rockets back at him to destroy him. When the fight is over, you learn that it was the Toy Man who did it.
That's right. Tim, the Toy Man Toiler.
Snappy nickname.
The next level is a fishing town. Turns out a giant sea monster and a ghost ship are attacking the place. The gang shows up there, but the town is deserted. So they investigate. They meet the Captain Bluebeard and get the whole story. You search several sea town type locations such as a shipyard, the town, some docks, a lighthouse, and the spooky ghost ship. You also meet Bluebeard's apprentice.
Hey there. Welcome to what's left of Rocky Bay.
And you meet an old salty sea dog that doesn't much like Bluebeard.
Excuse me.
It's here in this level that I came across an interesting discovery about the game. When it comes to the combat, you can just skip most of it. Yeah, eventually I realized that you can just run past most of the enemies. This made the game take a lot less time. Unless there's something blocking your path that won't let you go by without first defeating the enemies within the area, then you don't have to fight them. It was a design flaw I wasn't expecting, and it really sort of changed the nature of the game. It made it to where I really just had to run through things until I was out of there. In the end, you fight the giant sea monster aboard the ship, and when you win, it turns out it was actually both the sea dog and Bluebeard's apprentice who were responsible.
They teamed up to recover Willie's sunken boat. That's how they found Pearl Reef. Then they scared everyone away, and the pearls were theirs.
The next level begins with a very important looking person in a castle being haunted by an evil looking ghost. This is the Baron of Keystone Castle, the location for this final adventure. The gang arrives at the castle for a food festival that's happening there, but unfortunately it's abandoned, and you know our sleuths, they set out to find out why. The gang makes their way to the castle where they meet Costington, the butler.
I am Costington, the castle butler. Your friends have made their way to the dining table. Pigs, do excuse me. A slight tickle of the throat.
You also learn about the curse of Keystone Castle. You also meet the lady of the manor. The gang searches the castle, doing all the things you've been doing the whole game until you eventually run into the Baron.
A pocket-sized Baron. Handy.
It's here that you get the 411 on the hauntings and such.
My ancestor, Lady Azani. She had this castle built 900 years ago. Her evil brother had her thrown into the dungeon forever. For years she practiced black magic in the dungeon, vowing to return in the afterlife and get revenge. Every Baron von Rickenstuf since has met with a horrible fate.
The Baron thinks he's next, and it's up to the gang to find out who is behind the haunting. You head into the woods and find the groundskeeper Cal Perkins, who is fighting werewolves.
Nothing to scream about, except a man wearing a bear's head!
Daphne and Velma find a gold mine underneath the castle and ride down a lava river on a rock, and I have to say, this is some crazy mystery solving going on here. And Shaggy and Scooby fight the ghost at the end, which is this big brawl where the ghost grows huge and reminds me of fighting death at the end of Castlevania Lament of Innocence. You also fight the ghost in another form. Once the fight is over, everyone flees from the castle as it crumbles. Scooby-Doo First Frights isn't the best Scooby-Doo game there is. In my opinion, its sequel is better, as are the Sega Genesis game and the Game Boy Color game. However, it's a really good game. The platforming and combat are fun. The few puzzles you get are simple yet challenging, and a lot of care went into the details of this game. For instance, when Velma accesses a computer to play the Simon Says-esque mini game, the arrows are actually these little mini skulls. Like, I didn't notice that until I was reviewing the footage for this review, and that's a pretty good attention to detail there. It's the tiny attention to detail that makes this game really good. The story is well crafted and well voice acted. The cast here does a great job, as they should. It's the cast from the TV show, but the animation sells the voice acting incredibly well, even better than it would were the animation not as good. There are also nice little subtle touches to the story, like when Daphne is attracted to the sailor guy and Fred is jealous.
You're awfully brave to come here anyway.
I originally dismissed this game because of its art style, thinking it was Scooby-Doo Kids or something, or based on a new show that came out briefly that no one cared about. But until I decided to play this for Halloween, I learned that it was made by Taurus Games, and I was pleasantly surprised. It's actually pretty good. After the gang and the occupants of Keystone Castle escape, they all stand around and speculate on who possibly could have been the culprit who committed this crime. And they speculate that it was actually the lady of the manor.
Yeah. Who would have thought the castle had a secret gold mine underneath it? And your sister would want you gone so she could have the gold all for herself.
I beg your pardon, but what sister? I don't have a sister. Nobody lives in Keystone Castle but me and the servants. And I am an only child.
Yep, as it turns out, that lady that you met earlier was actually a ghost.
Ooh, ah, ooh, ah.